Today we're going to learn about how to make a French seam. A French seam is essentially a seam that has the raw edges of the fabric encased in here, so there's no raw edges, which is pretty awesome. A traditional seam, you have raw edges here, and with repeated washing, as I've done in this example here, you can see the edges begin to fray. And if you go like this and you pull on it, guess what happens? It starts to rip through because the fray edges do not hold that seam. So a French seam will hold up much longer with repeated use and washing. The hardest part about making a French seam for me anyway was getting my head around the idea that the very first step is you have to put your fabric with the wrong sides facing each other. So I'm going to put my first piece face down there, and then my other one is going to be face up, so they are wrong sides facing. I'm going to just show you this example here by doing this top edge here. Go ahead and pin it in place, and we will sew this edge here with a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. We'll do that next. After you have that edge sewn, you're going to go ahead and open up your fabric, and I kind of just get it flat there, and then you're going to now go right sides facing each other with this folded edge right on the edge. So I just kind of use my fingers and wiggle it so that it's right on the edge there. Pin it in place and work your way through that whole seam in the same manner. With a traditional seam, you're going to have a 1/4 inch seam allowance with your fabric from what the finished side is to what you cut it. With a French seam, you're going to need to allow for a 3/4 inch allowance because you have your 1/4 inch here, and then next we're going to sew along this edge again using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now that I have that 1/2 inch seam allowance sewn there, you can see when I open this up, from this side it looks like a normal seam. It's just two pieces connected to each other. On the back end though, there's no raw edges along this side, so that's going to really hold up a whole lot better when you have repeated washes. One thing to kind of take note of before you finish your project and put everything away is just double check here. Sometimes you'll have a raw edge trying to peek through here, and then it's a matter of just kind of going back and just sewing that a little bit steeper where that portion is, just to make sure those raw edges are truly encased within that seam. That's it. Don't forget to like and follow my channel.